Okay, go ahead.
Cash, you want to call this meeting to order?
Yes, we'll call the meeting to order. Who wants to read the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, if everybody could join me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Board Member Patricia?
Here.
Yeah. Board Member Heidi?
Here.
Board Member Maria?
Here.
And Board Member Rakesh, President Rakesh.
He will be here in about 3 minutes.
And of course, our director is here and Frank is here. Okay, so we call this meeting to order. Brianne, it's all yours now.
Thank you. So just to start, we're just going to do one change of agenda. I'm sorry, the slides for our regular updates got missed there. So I'm going to take us through, as I said, some of our regular quick updates, and then we'll get into public comment and then tackle the agenda. Lots of great stuff to discuss. So we'll just launch over here. You guys can all see the screen. Get that guy out of the way.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's make sure I can change my screen here. So as we do in these meetings, always a quick update on what's happening in travel and tourism and this COVID-19 ongoing impact. So the statewide mask mandate has been extended through to the middle of February. So that includes everyone, regardless of vaccination status, in all public indoor settings across California. There are no travel restrictions or requirements at this time here in California. However, our Department of Public Health does continue to recommend that travelers arriving or returning do get tested 3 to 5 days after arrival. When we look at travel into the U.S., all air passengers are still required to be tested, and that test does need to be done 1 day before entry into the U.S., again, regardless vaccination status there. And so as always, we are continuing to keep the COVID resource page on the Visit 29 site updated. We've got a lot of very helpful links there to state and county resources, including where to get tested, where to get vaccinated, what are those 800 hotline numbers. And so that page continues to be a highly visited page. We do run that online chat through our website, and that is probably the top question we're being asked right now. So we are making sure that that page stays updated and relevant, and we can be as helpful as possible to travelers considering to coming through. So I'll take you through a couple quick marketing updates, just a quick overview in terms of how our website is performing. Again, that's really our key #1 marketing tool. We're putting a lot behind that when it comes to paid search, digital display, other types of responsive campaigns through Google. So what you're looking at here is an overview of our first quarter results, October through December. Really great to see such strong increases as compared to this quarter last year, particularly with those outbound lodging link clicks. So we're seeing steadily the number of users climb. So we are now consistently above 6,000 users. When you look at the high number in October, a lot of that was driven from the local events that we had sponsored, a lot of traffic coming through there, which is great to see. So overall, really happy to see how our site continues to build momentum. We do see a little bit of seasonality there. So we did see the number of users change a little bit through late November after that Thanksgiving period, and then into early December. Really thrilled to see how well we're doing with web traffic so far this month in January. We're going to continue to push through, as you'll hear more about later, some of the social media campaigns to try to beat that October number. We've seen already over 600 outbound lodging link clicks off the site through January, which again is great to see, especially given the latest COVID surge and everything going on there. Sorry, I just have to toggle my little menu box so I can see here. So again, overall, really great to see how many people are utilizing the resources on our site. Lodging, the events page, local attractions page, those continue to be the top performing pages. See if I can get across here. So just a kind of update in terms of what we're running in paid social media campaigns right now. What you're looking at is a sample of the creative, how this ad looks and runs on Facebook as well as Instagram. So this particular campaign is driving traffic to the Plan Your Trip section of our website that does offer some sample itineraries. So in addition to exploring all the great things here in the city, some other itinerary ideas to get out into some of the other places, say in Mojave Trails. As you can see from the creative, really focused on the beauty and the natural wonders of the area and the desert region here. So this particular campaign I'm running as an in-state campaign as well as out-of-state, so you see which markets are being targeted there. Great to see, you know, over 2,000 link clicks through to that Plan Your Trip page coming from within the key markets here in California, and pretty close when we look at how it's performing out of state. And the other active campaign that's running right now is driving traffic directly to our lodging page, focused around planning those winter getaways, and again, finding the best in lodging here with us in the city. You'll see the targeting there. That just started, so as I look this morning, we're at about 160 link clicks and about 13,000 reached. So just to give you an update in terms of what we're doing in our paid social media campaigns. Moving on now to the Palm Springs Airport. Let's see if I can play this. So we have signed, the year-long contract to increase brand awareness and continue to promote 29 Palms as a travel destination. I think this is such a great spot for us. It allows us to get our messaging in front of frequent and affluent travelers. That's both business and leisure. A couple slides forward, you'll learn more about the growth that they're seeing there at the airport. They will, I'm sure, surpass that 2.3 million annual passengers this year, especially with the new air service that's being offered now. So our year-long campaign kicked off the 1st of October, which is the beginning of our fiscal year, and that'll run all the way through to the end of September. So what you just saw a quick look at here was the video creative that ran at the airport from the late fall through to the early winter. I will show you next. Oops, sorry about that. Current creative. So as part of our contract, we do get a bonus placement on that video wall. For those of you who have been through the Palm Springs Airport, it's huge. It stretches across that whole baggage claim area. So we are hoping to get a little bit of coverage on that video wall in the next couple of weeks. Down below, you'll see the creative for the digital network. So that gives us a guaranteed placement on the baggage claim as well as the welcome lobby. So that's what we're running at this time there. So as I said, just record-breaking growth continues here. This airport is now up to 13 airlines offering 36 different routes now. The Palm Springs International Airport is really leading the way for the small airport category. It's interesting to hear they're getting a lot of national interest now from advertisers. I flew through it myself over the holidays, and it's just, it is booming down there. So they do send out press releases. The last one that came out at kind of early December, kind of recapping again that record-breaking growth in November. So November marked the 6th straight month for highest traffic counts there. And so that also, I just wanted to kind of remind everyone of where we're at right now in that airport in terms of coverage. And it's interesting to see we are getting more and more web traffic through from the Houston and Austin, Texas markets. And I think a lot of that does reflect the new air service that's available through Palm Springs. So when we last met, we saw kind of in rough draft form still the new Mojave Trails National Monument video series. I'm going to go ahead and hit play here. I hope it's not, whoops, too loud. So again, this was the 3-part series, spotlighting Amboy Crater as the first unique point of interest. These are meant to be, again, day trip itineraries for visitors coming to stay with us. Exciting to launching these on YouTube and supporting them through paid campaigns. So we'll get these rolled out on social media in the next week. And it's kind of some interesting timing as we approach now the 6th year anniversary of this national monument. So I'm going to let this play. And maybe for TBID board, let me know if you'd like me to play the other 2 in full so you can see them. So that is the Amboy Crater piece, and we will queue up next the Cadiz Dunes Wilderness. Okay, not quite as much fun, you guys, as if we could be in the meeting room together and be watching these on the big screen. But hopefully you're enjoying this so far. So the third in the piece here is Spotlight on the Desert Training Center. All right, well, there you go. So those are the 3 completed videos. As mentioned, we will start getting those out there through paid social media campaigns and run some Google video campaigns as well to help reach as many people as we can. It's definitely a big undertaking, this series, working with the Bureau of Land Management. So in terms of planning and some editing, took a little bit longer than had originally planned, but oops, hopefully you guys are all excited about these as I am. And we will move on through the last sort of regular business update, as we usually do, a quick overview of how things are going here at the 29 Palms Visitor Center. Through the fall and early winter season, we've welcomed visitors from 25 different states and 7 different international countries. It's always a joy to have people in this space. We have adjusted our hours now that the 29 Palms Farmers Market has moved over to Freedom Plaza. So we're back to the 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 7-day-a-week schedule there. And also just to say that the staff, in addition to helping the folks that do come through the building, are managing the live chat that we have on our website through those hours. And let's carry on here. So before we get into discussion and potential action items, now would be the time to open it up for public comment, and we will ask Eli to help us with that.
Okay. If any of the members of the public would like to address the committee, you can raise your virtual hand. You can type in your question. If you raise your virtual hand, I'll unmute you so that you're able to ask your question directly. Looks like we have Vino. Vino, you're unmuted. Yes. Go ahead.
In fact, my listening question to type out would be long, so I would rather prefer to ask it verbally.
You are addressing the committee now. Go ahead, Vino.
Okay. Thanks, Eli.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to wish all listening happy New Year. Frank, in fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to call you Frank rather than calling you Mr. Frank. the Kino or the city manager. Which one would you prefer me addressing you by?
Informal's fine. Frank's fine, Vino.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks so much. In fact, I think you know that I've been in this town for almost 25 years. And 15 years ago, my listing hotels used to enjoy a mid $90 RevPAR. Now, there's a huge difference between RevPAR and ADR. I'm sure everybody that sits on the board knows about it. Everybody that's listening knows about it. And at that time, there was under 1 million people coming to the Joshua Tree National Park. Today, we have north of 2.5 million people coming, and our RevPAR is below $60. Our town is not a walk-in town, it's a drive-in town. And most of our guests normally check in between 2 and 5:30. And if they miss that slot, they check in between 5:30 and about 9:30, quarter to 10. So if you drive into town around 6 o'clock, and if you drive into town around 10 o'clock, just by looking at the parking lots, you can tell how the hotels are doing. Just after Thanksgiving, our occupancy has been declining. I just talked to the manager of the Fairfield this afternoon, and he shared the same thing too. After Thanksgiving, the occupancy has been declining. I've been tracking the Yucca Valley market, and I've noticed that their ADRs are higher than the hotels in 29 Palms. Their occupancies are even better. Also, I don't know if you know, Frank, that in front of the Fairfield, that site was earmarked for another hotel. The Fairfield, from the time it was built to as late as last year, was constantly into financial trouble. That's why that second hotel didn't go in. I don't know if you know that putting on another cap as a broker that happened to specialize only in hotel sales, I've done 2 short sales on the Harmony Motel. I've done a few short sales on the 9 Palms Inn and the Ramsey 9 Motel, which the new owners have done an awesome job. I really like the work they've done on it. This previous owner has been constantly in this financial problem. And the Circle C Motel was, foreclosed. And yet, in the downtown Phoenix project or the Freedom Plaza, you actually proposing for another hotel to come. When that hotel comes in, combined with the hotel, container hotel that's coming in, we'll have a total of 190 rooms added to our market. Now, I'm not afraid of this competition, but I'm glad that you've been an ex-city manager of the city of Blythe, and you've seen how when new hotels come in that market, existing hotels have now been blighted, BLIGHTED. We were promised 3 things: the branding, we were promised increased occupancy, we were promised better ADRs, all of which failed by the TBID and is going on 5 years. Now, I do understand, Frank, that you don't do the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting is done by people that we nominate. Unfortunately, what we have is, I'm going to bring in the same in comparison. You have a driver that drives the Uber, and you take the driver out of the Uber and you ask them, what do you do? They'll tell you, I'm a driver. And you have an 18-wheeler driver that drives that 18-wheeler. You take them out and ask them, what do you do? They'll say, I'm a driver. You cannot put an Uber driver to drive an 18-wheeler, but any given day you can give an 18-wheeler driver to drive an Uber. And I think what we need to do is revisit this and say, hey, you know what? We need to bring in a professional consultant to tell us what to do. But in the meantime, I'm also very glad to see that the Downtown Association is coming in, and I have faith in the Downtown Association that they might do a better job than our district president TBID board. And maybe what we should do is give our funds to that association to see how they can market and bring us that promised occupancy, increased occupancy, that promised ADR, and keep all of us a happy camper. I don't want to get on this meeting every time and sound like I'm the only one of the negative.
Mr. Nethraj, I think your time has expired. You're now on 4 minutes. Can we have the next speaker?
We have discussed this in the past that, hey, you know, as far as the time limit is the same concern, I did talk to the city mayor and also the council member. Okay. So that's my message, Frank, that we need to revisit this whole TBID performance. Thanks.
Any board member want to respond to this? Okay, with regard to the Harmony Motel short sailing, I've owned it for 17 years. It hasn't been short sailed. I didn't buy it on a short sale either. So if it goes back, it goes further back. All right, the next person, please.
Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to comment? Please virtually raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, guys.
Okay, all right.
Right, so we're going to head into the discussion of potential action items. We have, I believe, Mike Usher. I know Anita's there, probably Stephen, other members of the DBA group. And so just bear with me a second, guys. Let me queue up your presentation if you want to get started with any introductions of who is there with you now, and then off we'll go.
Thanks, Brianne. This is Mike Usher. I'm the DBA president and owner of Ground Squirrel. I do have Stephen Presbolowski from White Label Vinyl and Anita with me. We just want to thank you guys for having us and for entertaining our request, and I wish everyone a happy new year. Brianne, can you just let me know, have all the board members seen this presentation or had this presentation? I just want to make sure I'm not reading slides if everyone's had a chance to peruse it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you need me to.
Sorry. The speaker that's speaking, I think the speaker that's speaking, I think your speaker is like resounding.
Are you getting some feedback?
Hello? Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Are you getting feedback, or is that?
The feedback is not coming through the main message, so it's the end panelist who's reporting that.
Yeah, because it's fine with mine as well as Frank.
It sounds clear, Mike.
Okay, cool. If something happens, just let us know. We're trying to figure this out, but as long as we're good now and everyone can hear us, I think we're ready to proceed, unless we need to wait for something.
No, but I'd like to, hi, Brianne and the TBID committee. I also want to make you aware that we have Chelsea and Andrew from High Desert Daydream, as well as Eric Mendez from Desert Beacon here as well. So thank you.
All right, we can, next slide, please, Brianne. So before we get into the two events that we're looking at, we just wanted to give a brief overview. We currently have 7 different businesses comprising of 12 total members in our Downtown Business Association. We've been operating since end of October, early November. We recently, this past Monday, had a meeting to try to introduce ourselves to other local business owners in 29 Palms. And we do expect that before our next meeting, a week and a half from now, that our membership will at least 100 to 200% increase. We had a really productive meeting, and we had a lot of interest generated from it. Next slide, please. This is our current board and the members that we've been working with to get this thing started, and the businesses that we represent. Next slide. And then this is just a brief about us. We are looking to we are a membership organization representing businesses in the downtown area. We're looking to foster a thriving downtown economy based on cooperation between our local businesses, the local governmental agencies, and the residential community in order to achieve pragmatic growth and lasting opportunity for everyone in 29 Palms. Next slide, please. So our mission, our Downtown Business Association is a membership organization. So currently, we are dealing with primarily businesses that are located in downtown 29 Palms, but we don't have a boundary for the businesses that we're welcoming and working with, collaborating with in the city. We're looking to make the downtown area a beautiful, safe, viable, and profitable location for the community to shop, dine, and attend sponsored events. We're looking to encourage economic growth and success and support each other through personal referrals, shared ideas, and best practices, resulting in community awareness. In short, something that we've been joking from, kind of amongst ourselves, but we want to be able to provide everything in 29 Palms so that people don't ever have to go west of Lear Avenue. Next slide, please. So we've got 4 goals that we've set out for ourselves as we get started. One is that we're looking to create a unique experience by maintaining a healthy and vibrant downtown destination with some diverse businesses, community events, and cultural activities. We want to really enhance the downtown streetscape and aesthetics, in concert with the development of Freedom Plaza in order to create a welcoming environment and encourage commerce and foster some community pride. We want to foster a city that is business friendly and an environment that attracts new investors and strengthens the existing businesses in order to broaden our overall economic base. And we want to enhance the knowledge and perception of 29 Palms and our downtown businesses and its value to the city and downtown as a whole. Next slide, please. So our proposal here includes basically our first 2 events. We do have at the end of this presentation a rough calendar of events that we are prepared to and hoping to execute through the end of the year. It is important to say, and as we go through these first 2 events, we hope and intend that all of our events will include the same sort of package of things, including art vendors, clothing vendors, some sort of local or outside of local musical entertainment, and then whatever the actual event is focused on, having all of those things being geared or slanted in that way. Next slide, please. So we have been operating these sidewalk strolls. You may have seen them branded as a sunset stroll. We've been doing these since the end of October. Basically just a little street fair or sidewalk fair that we're implementing with local vendors and artists, just to try to get some foot traffic and increase foot traffic into downtown. Through the fall, we were doing them on Friday evenings. After the time change and into the cold months, we were seeing that the attendance or the foot traffic was more sparse due to the weather, and so we've moved them to Saturday early afternoons. But we are still trying to figure out and kind of experiment with the sidewalk strolls and figure out which dates drive the most interest and foot traffic for us. Next slide, please. So they are every other Saturday. We are currently doing them downtown from 11 to 4. If you go to the next slide, it'll have some examples of the vendor booths that have been in attendance. And so it's been a great way for visitors and pass-throughs to, number one, as they drive into town or they get over Donnell Hill, you can see that there's something going on. And we've had a lot of people that have mentioned pulling over just to kind of investigate or see what's going on with the different booths. It's also given a great opportunity for our local vendors that don't have actual brick and mortar spots in downtown to be able to introduce themselves to the community, as well as give them an alternative place to promote and execute their business. We've gained a lot of appreciation, or we've heard a lot of appreciation about the small town vibe and the friendly faces, and you know, we're hoping to expand this and integrate these sorts of vendor opportunities into every event that we throw, whether it's these sidewalk strolls or whether it's the larger events that we're hoping to throw roughly monthly over in the new Freedom Plaza area. Next slide, please. So we're currently seeking financial support to host our first 2 events to encourage visitors, pass-throughs in the local community to rediscover 29, which rediscovering 29 is the slogan or the way that we've chosen to focus all of our goals and intentions for the Downtown Business Association. We feel like this really encapsulates what we're trying to do, because we're not just asking locals to check it out or new people to check it out. We want to show and prove to everyone that whether you've been here before or this is your first time, there is a lot to rediscover about 29, because things are happening here in 29 Palms that haven't ever happened before. Next slide, please. So the first event is tailored or is in concert with the Project Phoenix groundbreaking concert on March 12th. Next slide. We're looking to hold this event on Saturday, or the main event on Saturday. We have it on here from 3 to 8 p.m. Those of you that have access to the budget that we sent in with our proposal, we do have a late night, a silent disco that might go into the 9 to 11 p.m. hours. Basically, we have a grand idea of what we would like to execute and all of the different things that we would like to do, including 3 to 4 bands beginning at 3 p.m. and ending with a headliner that starts somewhere between 6:30 and 8 p.m. Vendor booths, we intend to have them separated into an art vendor section as well as a clothing or merchandise vendor section. We're looking to have a beer booth and several different options as far as food trucks or eating is concerned. And then, you know, depending on our funding and where we need to allot and spend our money, we would also like to do a late night 9 to 11 silent disco under the stars, which has the goal of not only giving something that is outside of the very family friendly and welcoming environment from 3 to 8 p.m., but just something that that might keep people in town a little bit longer or give them something else to do once the festivities end relatively early on a Saturday evening at 8 p.m. Just to give you guys an idea, for those that aren't familiar with the silent disco and might be cringing a bit at the timing of it, the silent disco is something where there's a DJ or a musical act on stage. Everyone that is in attendance or listening to the musical act is checked out the same set of headphones, And so if you are outside of the headphones or you're not wearing headphones, you can hear absolutely nothing, but everyone that's in the headphones hears the DJ or the musical act that's happening on stage. So not something that's going to be a huge nuisance or a noise issue for the surrounding community and neighbors, but is something that can be executed and pulled off, especially when we've just held a concert there, you know, in the hours previous. Next slide, please. So the next event that we're looking at, whether it's, I think we have it penciled in for it's Friday and Saturday in May, is the first annual 29 Palms Beer Festival. Next slide.
I'm sorry, Mike, could you tell me those dates again, or the date range in May?
So the dates that we have written on the proposal are May 13th and 14th. We do have some flexibility as far as the dates on that. The Project Phoenix one being inside of 60 days and obviously other things going on is more hard set. But the way that we're looking at the beer festival is to have the same sort of package as we plan with all of our events: vendor booths, art exhibits, food trucks. We're looking at doing the actual beer festival. I've already got up to 10 different Southern California and San Diego breweries that have committed to attending, pending the dates, obviously, and having those things finalized. But I expect that I can put together at least 15 different breweries to come out here. Normally, if you're not familiar with the beer festival, there is a ticketed price to get in. That usually includes, you know, beer samples or some sort of sampling glass. We have the opportunity to do VIP sections and things like that. But the beer festival would probably occur from 5 to 8 p.m., 5 to 9 p.m. Music going on throughout the day on the stage as the beer festival is executed in and around the stage area, you know, depending on working with all of the local government agencies to figure out the best place to do that. Beer garden, live music and bands, also the option for that late night silent disco, understanding that that the longer we keep people here and having fun, the less likely they are want to drive down the hill and go back to their respective homes, wherever those may be. Next slide. These are just some slides. You can click through these, Brianne. These are just some examples of the type of vendor booths, food trucks, things that we are planning to offer and provide at each of our events that we throw, including these first two that we've lined out here. These are the proposed events and the rough timeline that we're looking to do them. And if you continue on, this next couple of slides basically takes you through or shows the events that we have as an association talked about wanting to execute in the rough timelines or the rough periods of time that we would like to execute them. One of the things that was really beneficial about our meeting that we had this past Monday with the local businesses and local interested groups is that, you know, as you all know, there is a diverse and a large variety of interests around. And so when we're looking at these different events and different types of things to throw, we really feel confident that once we have them penciled in and have an idea of where each one will occur in the calendar year, we do have a lot of different organizations and people that we can reach out to figure out the best way to execute each individual event. Again, all of these events, and if you want to click on to the next one, please, to see the back half of the year, all of these events, the idea is to execute them with the same package of vendors, food trucks, some sort of beer booth or beer garden, and then live music, or in the case of some of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, some of the other theatrical based events, you know, maybe replacing those musical acts with an actual 1 or 2 act play, a couple of traveling plays that can be executed on the stage area. Next slide, please. And that is the duration of our presentation. These are where you can find us online. And if there are any questions or things.
Yeah, Mike, if I could, this is Frank. Just wanted to, from the manager's perspective, from the city side of it, you know, we are so excited, you know, that we have a group of folks, businesses like yourself that is energized. You know, I know we had a meeting back in, I don't know, whenever it was, probably last summer, I think it was. And what the city realized, you know, looking at this from a computer perspective, you know, we're bringing the hardware to our community. You know, Project Phoenix is that hardware, but we need that software to be there, you know, and complement to that hardware. And I know from the TBID, hearing the TBID and some of their directions from the past, it's been, hey, we need to have more events. We need to, as people come, we cannot be just a community of hotels in the national park. We have to have these other ancillary businesses and activities, restaurants and others, destinational places where our visitors can go, because ultimately we want folks to stay more than one night, more than 2 nights, more than 3 nights in our community, and having events that will attract them and keep them are important. So from the city's perspective, I mean, we're so delighted that you have come together. We feel your energy, and we're excited to work with you to make this a reality. We realize, which, you know, just like the TBID, you're in your infancy. We get that. And, you know, with infancy, you grow, and we know you'll grow, but you're at a starting point. So again, we realize that, and just really excited for that. So thank you for all that you guys want to do.
Thank you for that, Frank. I really appreciate that. And, you know, we, as a group, it does feel good. We feel like, you know, unlike any other time in 29 Palms, people are looking for an excuse to come out here. You know, they're really wanting reasons to come out and do things. And so, you know, we feel like this first couple of events and this first year really of Project Phoenix is important, because there's at least a little bit of a proof of concept that we're having to experience here. And, you know, the idea is, or our plan and idea when we're planning on executing these events, especially these early ones, is we really feel like we need to do a good job with them and have them be worth people's time and energy and money to come out here and spend the weekend. We really feel like if the reviews and the things that people have to say about these first 2 events are glowing and positive, that it really, you know, allows us the opportunity in the coming events to not have to work so hard to convince people to come out. You know, they know that they know, or they've heard from their friends, that the first 2 events were great, that they had a great time, that they were able to go into the park on Friday and Sunday after the events. And, you know, once we build up a little bit of trust with people, people are already looking and begging for reasons to come out here. And so, you know, executing 2 really high quality events to start out is going to go a long way into to earning their trust and making them pick out on the calendar when we release that next, like, here's what we plan to do and here's the months we plan to do them, to pick and choose, you know, these things match their interests, and to book their rooms and you know, really plan on coming out to enjoy them, because they know that they're going to be quality and worth their time.
Hey, Michael, this is Rakesh. I'm the chair. Again, you know, continuing the compliments that Frank gave you, really love the enthusiasm and the energy that you're bringing to the downtown business district, and, you know, enhancing the experience for the tourists that come to 29 Palms. Love, you know, what are you proposing? And all the events and things like that. From a logistic perspective, I have a couple of questions or maybe concerns. First and foremost, how are you going to get the word out? And if you're going to get the word out, what is your expected turnout for the first event?
Well, it's going to depend on, you know, who we have and who we're partnering with to throw these events in a lot of ways. You know, one of the benefits that we have as an association is that the businesses that we have that comprise us so far are very diverse with different networking reaches. We're obviously planning on or hoping that, whether it's with TBID or in conjunction with the event that the city is throwing the same day. I mean, there's really an opportunity to market this as a grand opening, not just for Project Phoenix, but for, rediscovering 29 Palms as a whole. And so we are very short on time as far as this first event is concerned. And, so it really depends on who we're able to get on board and work with us in the next, 50 days or so until the event goes on. Steven's got something as well.
Yeah, Steven Przybylowski here. One of the things, like, besides just traditional media and other online forms of media that we can use as far as marketing, the idea here is that we're also bringing in talent, whether that is musical talent, whether that's anything that's associated, like the breweries that are coming in that are going to follow, that people are going to follow these people here. So we're looking outside. We would love to have local bands opening for outside talent, or even having local showcases. But the idea is, especially from this budget for this first one, we're definitely looking for talent outside of this, outside of the high desert, looking for things, people travel, like bands traveling from Los Angeles to Arizona or vice versa, so that their fan base will come here, especially if they're seeing that their favorite band is playing here. That's just going to even drive that sort of advertisement around, or at least brand awareness around 29 Palms.
Well, and that's oh, sorry, go ahead.
Can I just step into that? You said the talent that you're going to try and recruit for the concert show is going to be local bands. Is there any way we can get a list of the bands that you plan? And my next question is, are you charging the public any fee to come and see the concert, or is it going to be totally free? And what capacity can that stage hold, in terms of audience?
So this obviously depends on the sort of budget that we're looking at, or that we're able to work with. What our idea is, as far as the band is concerned, not just for this first event, but kind of in general, is to have, one or two local opening bands, and then to be hiring out, or have one or two of the larger bands that will travel in, much like they do to Pappy and Harriet's, on their way to and from some other event or larger venue, making a stop in and bringing their people with them. As far as charging for this first event, and the idea behind most of the events is to have a large part of it, or at least the part that's going on stage, be free of charge to, and relatively family friendly during the daytime, and then having some aspect of it or built into whichever event we're throwing that is paying for a VIP section or paying for a VIP portion of the experience. As far as the actual attendees or the capacity for the stage, I think that's a little hard for us to estimate at this point. I don't know if Frank has a better idea of what they've calculated. I mean, because it depends on if we bring in bleachers for the entire space, if we have a small bleacher section and then the rest is standing room. We haven't gotten that far into the logistics of it with the rest of the government agencies involved in those sorts of things yet.
Yeah, and obviously COVID is probably one of those factors of space. Typically, you would probably have a lot of people in close contacts. That may be another one of those intangibles that we need to work through.
Frank, do you and Travis know yet what the approximate capacity is of Freedom Plaza out there, COVID aside?
I don't. So the plaza, which is the stamp colored concrete, I want to say is oh gosh, and the
reason being, Frank, the reason being is we have to know the capacity, because they would have to give out tickets, because you can't have overcrowding. It leads to so much more liability.
Yeah, it's about 60,000 square feet. So from a space perspective, we'll have to look at it, just see what a typical space, a festival space would add. But kind of going back to that though, you were not charging tickets though, or are you charging tickets?
So like for this first concert, the plan is not to charge tickets for it. One of the things when we've talked about COVID and capacity situations is that, if the event that we're throwing doesn't also include the multi-purpose room, then piping in audio or having audio that can go into the multi-purpose room whether that's just audio, whether that's a couple of big screens that also have a view of the stage on the big screens. These are things that we think that we can explore if we have the issue of we have too many people to just stand outside in the 60,000 square foot space, which would be a problem we're very welcome to, or we're very open to welcoming.
Okay, and then the next question is coming back to your DBA, the downtown business. Are you only exclusive to downtown businesses?
No, ma'am. We are currently entertaining and open to membership from all businesses in 29 Palms.
And to Ash, just to go back to your question, part of, if this, and actually it is going to get off the ground. I know the group has been talking with my planning department, and so we'll cover all those steps as it relates to planning, capacity, liability related issues and the like. So that will be part of the process that they have already engaged with the planning department.
Any other questions from other board members regarding their requested funding for these two events?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Patricia.
Patricia Knight. Are you seeking funding or sponsorship from other businesses for these events?
Yes, ma'am. So the budget that we presented, or the funding that we're looking to secure, is what we expect it to cost on our end. If we have one entity or one sponsor that covers the entire amount that we've projected, then that entity is the sponsor for the event. We won't be seeking outside sponsorship in addition to that. If we have two different entities that combine to reach that sponsorship, they'll share sponsorship of the event. But on our end, as a nonprofit organization, or as an organization which is currently in the application process for being nonprofit, this is what we project and expect that it will cost us to throw the event that we want to throw. And so once we get up to that and we're able to execute it, we're not going to be seeking sponsorship in addition to these numbers.
But how can you be a nonprofit when you have all your membership there, businesses?
Yeah, hi, Anita Pecky. We're in the process of applying for 501c6. So we can still gain membership fees, even though we're a nonprofit, but it gets circulated right back into any events that we throw, as well as into the DBA itself. We've already established our bylaws. We've done our articles of incorporation. We're working with the state right now. And then we've already reached out to the IRS. So we're in those final steps as we proceed. And it does take a while to actually submit. If you're not familiar how the nonprofit status works, it does take a while to actually put everything together and submit it to the IRS. So.
And this is Vikash. Out of this funding that you're requesting, how much of that is brought by the association itself? Are you guys bringing anything towards this?
Well, we have funds that we've collected through our memberships and through our Sunset Strolls. But if we don't have the funding to throw a large scale event, then us as business owners won't throw a large scale event. This is something that we are prepared to execute and would certainly like to execute, both for the downtown area as well as just for the city. But this is not something where any of our businesses are able to pool together and host one of these events, without outside sponsorship. But as we said, any of the money that we collect or any of our membership fees get invested right back into doing the events that we are hoping and planning on executing.
Yeah, and from what I know of all the businesses, Rakesh, are all small businesses. So yeah, they have the enthusiasm, but most of their, if not all their resources are in their businesses to kind of get them off the ground. They have come as a community-based organization in concert with the city and the TBID to really promote our community. And bottom line is, what I see is they're looking for seed money, to piggyback off of what Michael said earlier, proof of concept. I mean, that's, you know, at the end of the day, really, this seed money would be proof of concept. After their success, it'll be a no-brainer, you know, going forward. But there is certain risk, and that is acknowledged, you know, because this would be, you know, the first events.
And then the question to you, Mr. Manager, is there any city funds allocated for this?
So you know, the city, yeah, the city has invested, you know, $23 million in our downtown project, along with operational costs of to operate it, our downtown. So we, you know, we've extended ourselves as it relates to, you know, the Project Phoenix area from both the capital side and the operational side. You know, this is, you know, our recreational department, without a doubt. You know, we'll program our downtown periodically, as we do periodic events throughout the year. But what we heard from the TBID is you wanted more events than what we can deliver. But we're going to be there, just periodic events, not consistent events. And we do have over $150,000 of operational costs that we're already committed to for our downtown project.
Ever since this is going to be like,
this is the groundbreaking project event. Isn't the city going to partake in that, in terms of the fact that it's opening up Project Phoenix? If you look at their concert, what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so we do have a grand opening celebration and that's why this group, the Downtown Association, is piggybacking off of what we're doing, but it's separate from that. So our grand opening is earlier in the day. It starts at 10 o'clock. I want to say 10 to 2 or something like that. So we're going to have I guess an early day celebration, ribbon cutting, and we're going to have music as well, early day. And I think the idea is when we are kind of tearing down, if you will, from our grand opening celebration in a day, that the Downtown Association is going to piggyback and continue that celebration into the evening.
Any thoughts, Heidi and Maria?
Yeah, I mean, I have the feeling this budget is probably kind of low.
Low?
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's a high budget. I mean, it's a high number for all of us to say we want to help out, but I think that as far as putting a big event together, it seems a little low, possibly. And I think the numbers are kind of concerning. I guess I think that you should have a better idea of what the space can hold, and trying to figure out how to, you know, do crowd control or make it sure that there's not some crazy safety thing.
I do agree with her as well. The only thing I would be concerned of is when he was asked, you know, obviously there's no way to know how many people would partake in the event, and, you know, saying that it's about 50 days away, that would be like the only concern on my end.
So just with respect to some of the budgeting numbers and some of the concerns about it potentially being low, we think so too. We're also not sure because currently there is no audio, there's no audio equipment or systems on the stage. There are no visual lights systems on the stage. And a lot of these people that we need to get in touch with to throw one of these events, they don't just give out quotes or just tell you, you know, numbers unless you're ready to sign them and execute with them, especially for something that's less than 2 months away. We've done our best to project what those numbers are by talking to people that we know who are in these different fields, but without audio or visual or lighting on the stage for some band to plug into, it's a little hard to project unless we are ready to actually execute and book people.
Got it.
So here's a concern that I have. To give $12,550 to an organization that just came into existence, has no previous history of these events, but I do appreciate what you're doing. To me, it's a concern. You know, so my thoughts are, why don't you become a partner of the TBID or become affiliated with us and present us, or we can try and help for you to get this plan, at least for the first one, more concise. And I don't know how the other TBID members feel about giving one event $12,550. I think that's for discussion with the board members.
So just to chime in, Ash, what you know, we are open to different ways to do this. Originally, when we as a group of businesses were approached by the city, it was because they are not, or they don't have the staffing to utilize the space for all that it can be used for, and we have some people with expertise, or at least with contacts in this area. So we're open to working with TBID, or however is the best way to execute this. The other part of that, though, is that if we're able to throw this party, that's great. I think that especially with the proof of concept and with trying to get it off the ground, it's something that is necessary. But if we're not, everyone can be done at 2 p.m. and go about their Saturday on the opening weekend as well. We don't have a lot of control other than trying to keep them around and keep them going with activities. And these are the activities that we've come up with and think that we can execute on such short notice.
The beer festival event is definitely something that I would think would bring in large crowds. Many cities have that. The first event, it's too close. There's so much of logistics that you got to get right. And I'm not sure if this would be possible. I'm not trying to be negative, but looking at it realistically.
Right.
Yep, I think that's a legitimate concern. We do have the band, penciled in, as well as the audio video technical part of it. And so that's something on our end that makes us feel more reassured that we could execute it. But there certainly are going to be things that need to be done very quickly and with some help likely.
Michael, this is Rakesh again. I'm kind of confused. I mean, I thought that you did not know about the audio video component of it, but I'm hearing that you do have it, or you don't. What?
Well, with regard to the band and the actual audio stage technician, not with regard to the rental of how much speakers or how many actual lights will be required to throw a relatively medium scale concert. We have the band with the dates penciled in, as well as the actual audio video tech and with gear, but not the rest of the equipment rental. Those are the ones that they want you to book, or they want to work out rental agreements for specific days and things like that.
Oh. So the 12.5 will get this event off the ground. Is that assumption, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so how would the board like to proceed with this? Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions or concerns?
Ash, it's probably appropriate to get any public comment, if there is any.
Any public comments on this? Eli, do you want to ask them to raise their hand, or however you do it?
Anyone from the public would like to comment, please virtually raise your hand. Okay, we have Vino. Vino, you're now unmuted. Go ahead and make your comment.
Frank, in fact, I think Michael's team has done a great job trying to make this presentation in a short time. $12,550 that they're asking. I think the TBID should seriously consider giving that funds and take the risk. Let's see how they perform. And I have faith in the Downtown Association that they will be able to bring people that will spend their weekends in this town. Since we are 3 hours away from LA, 2.5 hours away from San Diego and from OC, and over 60% of the visitors that come to our park come from those areas. So let's give them a little bit of credit. and let's make this allowance. And it's part of the funds that I also contribute. In fact, last year I went ahead and contributed north of $25,000 to the TBID, and I didn't see any value in the TBID or didn't get any value. And I think these folks, the downtown business district, will bring that. And I'm glad that Michael and his team took the initiative to move forward. And I'm looking forward in working with them as well. Thanks.
Anyone else wish to comment? Please raise your virtual hand.
I wonder if it would make sense to do some kind of sponsorship thing. I mean, like a, a level sponsorship thing for people. So you sort of break it down differently.
Is there any proposal from the board members? Any board members of how best we can help them?
Is there a way maybe to put some type of time frame, since we have a couple concerns that we kind of would like addressed, that if by this time frame, if you have some type of response, then we can make a set decision?
Hello?
Yes, if that time frame question was directed at us, I mean, we're happy to check in weekly.
Oh, no, sorry, I was broadening up for the board members if what their thoughts on that would be.
I think we should have a subcommittee affiliated with this project. And, they don't have much time. This is supposed to be out in March, is it?
Correct, March 12th.
Middle of March, March 12th is when the Project Phoenix grand opening is scheduled.
Sorry?
Is it on time?
Yeah, the project is done. Yeah, we're complete.
Okay,
so when is this opening going to be?
The 12th of March.
The 12th of March. So we barely got 6 weeks left. So I think an immediate subcommittee with the TBID should form with the downtown association, and possibly within 2 weeks give us a definite plan of most of the things. And the TBID has to take the decision, other board members as well, whether you want to invest $12,550 on the first project. But we need more logistics, because it's no point in us going in with $12,550. It may become a disaster if it needs more money and we don't have that funding.
Right.
So rather, sit down with the downtown business, see what they have, what they don't have, and with the city in terms of the logistics of liability issues and everything, and get that done first, and then the TBID can make their choice.
No. So there are 3 things that we need to be clarified over here. One, if this 12,500 is an actual, absolute, concrete, hard figure, that is not going to make or break the deal. Second, from a logistics perspective, I mean, is the city prepared for it? We don't want to have another disaster like what happened with Buckley Fest with security and things like that. And then the third question is, what budget allocations do we have available for these funds? So those are the 3 questions. I think a subcommittee would just delay the process, in my opinion. Anybody else have any comments?
No.
So is that, Michael, an actual number that will make it happen for sure? I guess we lost him.
No, sorry, I'm just talking with Stephen over here. Look, this is Stephen Presbolowski. This is our baseline. This is what we can do for an event. Obviously, the bands themselves, from an out-of-town band, this is the bottom line for it. If we start, depending on the timing of this, if we start to get a little bit tighter in timing, that might go up a little bit. But right here,
$12,000 for an event, I think that this is something that we can pull off pretty seamlessly.
Okay.
Just a question, for the group, so obviously this is seed money to get it up, but there may be some profits from that, right? And those profits from that can roll over to the next event, right? Is that the business model to kind of self-sustain maybe as future events happen, as the momentum builds?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, this first event being non-ticketed, the beer festival by the nature of being a beer festival will be a ticketed event. And so, trying to, number one, prove these concepts early, prove that the events are worth it, but then rolling the profits or rolling whatever we have, if there's any remaining from one into the next, or however we plan to do that. Just our whole intention here is to just continue to reinvest these funds and these things into the future events and into future things downtown.
Yeah. So from a long-term perspective, once you prove concept and you're successful, this is probably a large contribution from the TBID, but through the sustainability of it, well, you're going to be sustainable going forward once the concept is proven. Is that the goal?
That's certainly the goal. I'm not sure that self-sustainability will occur in the first two events, but that's definitely what we're trying to do and where we're trying to get to with the model.
Got it.
We believe too the success based off of the event that we put out there, it's going to bring in other people that are going to want to do sponsorships. Other partners in other areas are going to want to come to us. We're already in a market right now where everybody is coming here. People are coming here. Whether they're staying here or whether they're leaving, that's a whole other thing. So creating these activities for them, they're going to know that there's something here. And moving forward, if we're having monthly events, those are things that people can plan for to say, yes, we're going to come out for that event.
And have there been any sponsors that you have approached in regards to with the food or the beer or the alcohol distributors?
Well, I mean, as far as the food trucks and the, and with regard to, if you're talking about the actual beer festival, I've got verbal commitments.
I'm talking for the first event.
For the first event. So with those, a lot of times because the food trucks are selling their food, so that's more of just a matter of getting them to commit to the time and date and not necessarily paying them to come out here from wherever they're from, because it's profitable for them as well to be included or to be featured at these events.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a sponsor with the bands. I mean, a lot of these bands have a following of sponsors that they work with that would, contribute to the popularity with having some banners or having a booth or something. Has that been approached?
That hasn't been approached yet, mostly because we don't really have anything to sell them yet. We don't have anything to tell them, your band coming out here and you sponsoring this event is worth your while. They're not invested in 29 Palms like you folks are or some of the other folks around. And so, we see that as something that is going to happen in the future after we prove this concept and show pictures of how many people are at these concerts and at these events.
Okay. So from a logistics standpoint, Frank, is the city prepared to handle an events like this with the parking and security and
Yeah,
and the fact that COVID as well right now.
and really appreciate the comment about the Baki Fest, because you're absolutely right. That was definitely a learning experience from the city's perspective because it didn't go well. So the Downtown Association is in communication with my planning department, and our eyes, we've been educated through that Baki perspective. The real key there, quite frankly, is going to be attendance, and we'll have to kind of, because the attendance, and even from the sheriff's department, attendance is going to drive a lot of the mitigating factors, right? There was more people in Baki than we thought of that would come down, so the sheriff's department wasn't prepared, right? So so the attendance is a real big key, but my planning department is working with the association as we speak. Because if we're talking, and I'm just going to throw out numbers here, if there's 500 people, I don't think there's anything big that we have to do from a mitigation perspective. If it's 5,000 people, different story. So I think, and I don't, and I don't know where the number is going to be on it, but I think that's kind of the level of mitigation that we'll have to look at. If we're looking at something like 5,000, there's going to be a lot more that we need to do than say 500 or maybe even 1,000.
Okay. I mean, and again, I didn't want to be pessimistic about it. All I'm saying is we just don't want to have a one and done kind of thing. We'd like to make this a successful event, because if parking is going to be a concern, if security is going to be a concern, then, people are going to be deterred from that. I mean, I don't know how the parking is going to be. Let's just say even if you have 300 people there, is parking going to be adequate around there?
Yeah. So we have about 200 and some odd spaces. So you figure 3 people, per car on average, that's 700 and some odd people, right? So
Okay.
yeah. So it's going to be tight, definitely will be tight depending on what the attendance is.
Well, and just to address the parking a little bit, because something that we've talked about on our end as far as all of these events are concerned, is, if we're having beer booths, if we're having a beer festival, like encouraging people to not be driving in and driving out of these different events is something that's really important to us as an association. We've kicked around ideas, whether we have the participating hotels, or we have the MBTA set up shuttles from the local hotels in and out of the space every 30 minutes, from open to close. Whether we really encourage or try to drive and work with Uber and Lyft to have drivers in the area when there isn't normally a robust Uber and Lyft service. But these are things that we're talking about and really considering, which do mitigate some of the concerns like parking. Because for these events, especially if we're wanting people to stay overnight, do these silent discos late into the evening, we don't want people to be making decisions about who's going to sober up or who's going to make it back. And hopefully working hand in hand with TBID and with your represented hotels, that's something that can be mitigated and influenced on both sides.
I think that's an excellent idea regarding the transportation. That would have to be done. In terms of your beer festival and even for your, for your concert. There's only one concern I have is this. The first one is the concert, which we want to take off in 6 weeks from now. And we want to spend $12,550 of the TBID funds. We're not sure of how many people it's going to reach or how many people is going to be presented there. So my question to the board is, do we want to spend $12,550 if there's only 300 in attendance or 600? Or I'm not in favor of that. I'm sorry. So it's too quick. It's too fast. Yeah.
My question to Brianne, can you refresh our memory as to the funds that we have available for something like this? Because I recall that we had set aside funds for seating events potentially.
Right, so we have a budget fund for special projects, of which event seating would come through, and that is $30,000 for the full fiscal year. And just a couple other comments, if I can just jump into the discussion here. We have the budget breakdown here on the screen. Maybe let's just sort of talk about this Project Phoenix concert. I think we've all waited so long for this Project Phoenix site to be done and come to life, and we're so excited about this space being activated. And how great, would this nighttime concert be to enhance everything that the city's already planning? And so, I mean, another way to potentially look at this is, if the TBID board is not comfortable today now to, to support it all based on the projected costs here. Maybe there's elements of this. I mean, it could be we consider sponsoring the music. We look at what the cost is for the 3 bands, maybe that equipment rental, or just maybe look at it in a different way. I think really time is of the essence, and if this is going to move forward, that planning needs to start right away. So just some thoughts there to add to the discussion here.
Yeah, and Brianne, so out of the 30,000, have you spent anything so far?
We haven't since this fiscal year started in October. We have not.
Okay. Well, then I guess we can make a motion and decide, which way we go, and if we need to discuss further, then we can discuss further. So I would make a motion to approve the 12,550 for this kickoff event, considering that we were all excited and we want to see more vibrant downtown and bring more people in. So I'll make a motion to approve this 12,550. Anybody want to second that?
I second that.
Who's that?
Maria.
Maria second that. You want to do a vote, or how do you want to do this, Frank?
You do an all in favor? So if you made the
Yeah.
Rakesh and Maria seconded, do we have an all in favor? We'd need 3 votes.
I'm not in favor. I'm not in favor.
Okay.
This is Patricia, and I am in favor of giving the DBA the seed funds for the initial first event.
Okay. So any else in favor? Heidi? Hello?
Heidi, are you there?
Well, we'll consider that as abstain, and 3 in favor, 1 not in favor. So I guess it's approved. Congratulations, Michael. Great job.
Thank you all very much. We're very excited about this and very grateful for your partnership and look forward to doing some really awesome things together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hear someone cheering in the background there.
I love too, I heard it.
There we go. It's like Anita's not quiet, I'm sure. Okay, well, thanks, guys. So I guess we will follow up with you, keep us posted on how planning goes, and then we can always have you back at these TBID meetings as you look to build out other events later in the year.
Thank you very much. We'll plan on it.
Yeah, and I would, as a further follow-up instruction, Brianne, if we can utilize our marketing that we have to promote this event and push it out there and
For sure.
get more awareness for it, it would be great.
Yep, for sure.
Absolutely.
So work with Brianne on that matter. Thank you.
We will. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. We've got Christina Benton here. Christina, are you ready? Can we go through the JT55 sponsorship real quick?
Sure, I'm here.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. What you have before you is request for sponsorship for the 5th annual Joshua Tree 55 bike ride. Same event that you've sponsored in the past. We're looking for sponsorship of $750 in exchange. You will have, oh,
sorry.
That's okay, keep going. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Brianne, thanks. You'll have, the Visit 29 name logo on the sponsorship banner, on the event t-shirt. You'll get a vendor space at the event. We would provide 3 bike ride entries. I don't know if you wanted to give them away as like raffle them off at Visit 29 on your website, or how you want to do that. That would be completely up to you. You would also get, there's 5 SAG stops along the ride, and those are support stops. And we would provide a banner at one of the stops that would be solely with your logo, and it would be your, the Visit 29 SAG stop. So let's say, for instance, you wanted the Jumbo Rocks one, we would put you there, and you wouldn't have to man it unless you wanted to, or provide any of the refreshments, but it would be marketed towards towards the Visit 29. And then obviously, again, name and business logo on the event posters, and all of our media and social media marketing and press releases, as well as we do have a booth at the Tour de Palm Springs, where we will be marketing the event. And as usual, Visit 29 is always invited to participate and be a part of that booth and market for Visit 29.
Thank you, Christina. I'll just jump in a couple comments. So guys, this event we've lost for the last 2 years. It was a huge success the last time it happened, which Christina was in 2019?
Yeah.
2019. Okay.
I know, so sad.
And I know from feedback from all the hoteliers, this did drive a lot of traffic into our hotels for the night before, and in some cases the night after the ride. So I think, as Christina mentioned, this is the only sort of sanctioned event that happens inside of Joshua Tree National Park, and cyclists do come from all over. It's a very grueling ride, 55 miles, not Sky Park to Keys Ranch and back. But we have sponsored this before in the past, and it's great to see this event return.
Yeah, and we will also be doing, we always do an early bird check-in, and normally that takes place at Parks and Recreation. This year, I'm going to set it up down at Freedom Plaza. So hopefully to drive, some traffic downtown that way as well. So that will be on Friday, the 29th, because the event is April 30th.
Are there any questions from the board members, or is anyone ready to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion.
I make a motion.
Yeah, and if there's any public comment too.
Would anyone from the public like to comment? If so, please raise your virtual hand and I will unmute you. I see none.
I'll make a motion to approve the sponsorship. Anybody second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
I'm in favor of it. Yes.
Any opposed? It's approved.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
You bet. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we've got a couple more agenda items to try to get through these next two rather quickly, because we have not yet discussed what we may do at the Project Phoenix space. So what I have for you guys today is actually an updated proposal from our video production team. As you know, we started working with them at the beginning of our last fiscal year. We had set up that monthly retainer, 3 different sort of packages they could execute, be it the Evergreen, kind of, just a general content package, drone footage, downtown imagery, pictures in the park. And really what we seem to take off with are these adventure itinerary video packages. So those 3 Mojave Trails videos that I showed earlier on are a great example of that. And so I think the consensus is that this is kind of evolved and a little bit more outside of the scope of that original proposal. So that was a $2,000 a month kind of agreement. As I've talked, with Andy and Ian, we have been talks of you know, now that we're done Mojave Trails, to get the next itinerary piece done. We were talking about a winter itinerary, again, similar to the summer, where we're starting with some beautiful imagery in the park, and then, you know, spotlighting some of the great experiences in the city. You know, I had asked also, great, could the couple we worked with for the stargazing video be part of it? And so I think just as our kind of ideas for what these video pieces should be have expanded, so too has the amount of time, the amount of trips they're making up here. So they were in touch earlier this week to let me know that, you know, they're at a place right now where they would need that retainer amount to increase. So what you see here, that 4,000 is gone up from the 2, rather than 30-second video pieces, which was what was written in that original proposal. We're now working on pieces that are upwards to a minute long, again, involving multiple day shoots for them coming up. So, you know, they had here, in terms of the term, suggested February through September. That would put us to 32,000 for this fiscal year, which is above the 24 that we had originally budgeted. So I just wanted to have this conversation with you guys to get some feedback. Perhaps we can't make that spend every month now through end of September. Maybe it's an every other month. And again, kind of continue with this slightly longer video format, which I think they do a really incredible job, everything they've produced for us so far. So just wanted to bring this in front of you, have a chat about it, get some feedbacks, and see what your thoughts are.
So they're going up by 10,000 more.
Yes. I guess it's a little tricky. It depends on when, you know, when we think about when these retainers started, because it didn't start at the beginning of last fiscal year. So really, we're just, the conversation is, you know, basically February through to the end of our fiscal year. You know, what do we want to allocate towards this?
And the only difference is that we're going to get 1 minute video instead of 30 seconds.
Yeah, and it's going to include, you know, again, multiple days shooting. So for example, when we were having a conversation about the winter itinerary, great, let's start you guys at 49 Palms Oasis and capture the beautiful imagery there. That's a full day of shooting. They've got to get up here for sort of sunrise. Then some of the other experiences to capture in the city, they need to come back another day for. So it's just, yeah, it's definitely, I think, evolved since we started the conversation about short 30-second sort of teasers.
I mean, to sound silly, but I feel like teasers are the purpose to kind of draw people to come out here. I feel like yeah, maybe it's just making a silly comment, but to me, it's like, for me, the difference from 30 seconds to 1 minute really doesn't matter, you know, and if we're going to be thinking about paying this now, it's like, we want to drive people out here, but we don't want them to be watching almost everything on those little minute videos. That's just my comment, just a comment.
One thing to add, like just to keep in sort of mind, if we're going back to the 30-second format, it's not going to include like 4 or 5 different places. It's not, you know, it'll be, okay, here's 30 seconds of park piece, and that's going to be a separate 30-second piece from, you know, these other experiences we're trying to pull in together. Does that make sense?
Brianna, I'm not able to understand the difference yet, because I agree with, I think it was Patricia, that a minute-long video, I lose interest 10 seconds into it. So I would prefer the teasers, and I would prefer them continue to do those for us, because that's all it is. To raise that awareness and that attract them in the first 10 seconds, so that I want to either know more about it or go there. So that's my opinion.
Correct.
Okay. So I can set up a call with them tomorrow and discuss that and see if we want to hold within that format, what that looks like in terms of the monthly fee, and if we can keep that at the original 2,000. And what they do is, you know, it's a 30-second delivered video piece, and then there's, you know, an accompanying collection of still images as well that comes with that. So that's fine.
Was there a way to see what drive we received from the original of what we started with? You know, because obviously if there's a way to see that it helped out, then I would think more, okay, yes, let's work something out with this. But definitely that 30 to 1 minute doesn't, you know, like for me, it wouldn't matter. Ms. Maria.
Yeah, when you look at like the total number of views and the engagement, because we put kind of an equal, I put an equal budget behind boosting them. You know, we have very close total views on them. But I can certainly dig a little further into some of the YouTube analytics and get you some notes and just have a follow-up conversation with Andy and Ian even tomorrow about this. So just to get a sense of what direction you guys want.
I mean,
I have a suggestion. Is it possible to maybe do like 1 month of the 4,000 with like the minute video, and then like maybe the next month go back to like the 2,000 and kind of work it out, kind of depending on what we need to focus on?
I mean, in short, Brianne, I think what I'm hearing from everybody is that I think we need to have multiple options from them rather than just the 4,000. So
okay.
Why don't you get them to give us plan A, plan B, plan C, and then we can pick and choose, and it could even be an a la carte menu, and we're okay with that. I think that would be a better way to go. And along with that, if you can pull the analytics for us to review, I think it will give us a better idea to make a decision on this. So we'll have to just stall this for right now, in my opinion.
And I would love to definitely see them if we're going to be seating the groundbreaking event on March. If they could definitely be there to like film some of that happening so that we have it for future use and everything.
Well, right, and that was a need there, you know, discussion point that came up at the city's event planning meeting earlier, is just like the importance of capturing and documenting all of that. So I had told Christina, again, this is such a great team to work with, and so it's just maybe a question of whose budget that comes out from, and if that then becomes, let's say, the March piece that they produce for us, or if that's done separately.
Brianne, more so it should be before March, because we want to push that out there so we can, it's basically raising awareness for it. So I would say taking some still from Project Phoenix, getting previous clips from the band that are performing, and you know, mixing them and blending them all together to, you know, say, hey, look out, it's happening on this day. That kind of, and then of course, historically, you might want to record it and have it for archives, but more so of an awareness to promote it, because as we see that there's not much of marketing dollars available for the Downtown Business Association to promote these things. So we're going to have to help in and jump in there.
Okay, so we basically want them to produce then a video piece to help promote this event, and really try to get them to get up here and capture a little bit of the site and collect material of bands and pull it all together.
Yeah, so can I come in there? If the city is going to also do that, we should work with the city. So maybe the budget will be cut half, you know what I mean? Instead of 4,000, we may pay 2,000 and the city may pay 2,000, because the city's already talking about it as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, no problem. So I just, as I said, this is news to me. I just wanted to pass that along, and we can continue discussions and get you guys an update on that. But we can definitely coordinate to get their help to lead up to Project Phoenix.
And the deadline for that should be, I would say, about 4 weeks prior to the event. So
right.
That's so that we can then start pushing it out there in social media, on our YouTube channel, or whatever we need to do on our end to help it. Because okay, I mean, it's a partnership. We're putting the money in. We want to make sure it's successful as well.
Okay, so let's move on then, shall we? Unless there's anything else to discuss there.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. All right, so next up, this is a proposal from the content creator behind California Through My Lens, His name is Josh. Had some really great conversations with him. He is one of several people I've been in talks with who run some of the best California travel blogs, have really active YouTube channels. So I've spent a lot of time digging through the content that he has already published. He has done some pretty great coverage already of Joshua Tree National Park. He's somewhat local. He's out in Riverside. So he has done a lot of work spotlighting various areas. A lot of it is just his own inspiration. He has not worked with any DMO for a little while. You know, he is always keen to form these partnerships where, you know, the idea and the itinerary is something he really feels interested in and feels that would really resonate with his audience. So we talked about a couple different things, including, I think, what he felt was the best thing, at least to be done now, which is a family-focused trip. He's got 2 young twins. This would be their first trip out to explore this national park, base it all out of 29 Palms. So this was, as I said, one of the concepts we talked about. He, in turn, has never heard of Mojave Trails, is really excited to see the videos we've just produced and, you know, have a perhaps conversation with us in the future when his schedule allows for that, to maybe plan some itinerary trips out there as well. So we're looking at the proposal that he's just sent over. $2,500 fits within our budget. We had hoped to execute a partnership like this once every quarter. So that's below the 3,000 sort of range we had put on it. So what we'd be looking to do here is to have him out the last weekend of January. So that timeline for posting is when all of his content would be ready to be shared. That would include some video piece that would go up on his YouTube. There's over 200,000 subscribers there. Some coverage on his Instagram channel and stories, as well as the opportunity to get some backlinks and some 29 Palms kind of fresh, updated content into his existing Joshua Tree National Park guides. And so, yeah, love to hear your thoughts on that.
So is he an influencer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And his one-time cost is the 2,500 just for one piece, or for how many pieces do we get on?
I'm not sure, Ash, do you have a video on your screen? Do you see the list of deliverables? Or did you call in?
Sorry?
Did you call in, Ash, or are you on your computer?
I'm on my computer, but I don't see the list of deliverables here.
It's a pretty small, Brianne. It's tough to.
Sorry. Okay.
I was trying to struggle with that as well.
All right, I'll read them to you as well. Let's get in there. So deliverables is one video that's 48 hours based in this park, family focused, home base being 29 Palms. Let me make that a little bigger. So again, that video piece would be posted to his YouTube channel. It would come with one Instagram post, that's carousel, a couple images there, an Instagram story ranging between 5 to 10 images, and again, updates to the Joshua Tree National Park guide that is on his travel site, californiathroughmylens.com. So when I think back to when we worked with Jack Fusco, who was the astrophotographer, you know, his price was a little bit higher, didn't include any content or footage out on the YouTube channel. It was really just mostly Instagram, and he had contributed some stargazing content that we've since published on our site. So it's similar, but I think in this case here, with what Josh has to offer, it's that added video content that was really appealing. I'm zoom back out. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, so one video, how long is that video?
Good question. I don't think I had that noted. A couple minutes.
Yeah, his videos tend to be like 10 to 15 minutes long that I'm seeing.
Yeah, some of them are very long. Yeah, good question.
So from all these influencers on YouTube, is he the most amount, does he have the most amount of subscriber? Or did you look at a few or just him only?
I didn't approach this as, okay, who's out there and judge them by the number of subscribers, right? I'm looking for people that travel and tourism is what they do. You know, I'm looking for people that have really great, helpful content. I'm looking at the amount of engagement, the chatter, you know, the questions, the dialogue that their content stimulates.
Was he the only one that satisfied all your requirements?
That's available, yes. Right now. Yeah, there's a couple others. They either are not comfortable in talking about traveling right now, given surges, or just fully booked for the next 6-8 months out. So.
Yeah. Plus, he's local. I think that's a big plus. So. Yeah, I mean, his work is definitely, you know.
He averages, you know, he gets a lot of eyeballs, several thousand for each photo that he posts on his Instagram.
Yeah, his Instagram, yeah.
I mean, there's over 44,000 followers there.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the engagement.
Right.
Yeah. That engagement is about, you know, roughly between 500 to about 1,500. Is that the only one that we have found so far that makes sense?
To make the agenda for this meeting, this is the only proposal. There's conversations still being had. I have phone calls set up also next week with a woman, but again, in terms of getting a proposal to you guys for someone who is available now, this is what I've got. Yeah.
Okay. And then the time frame on this one, the 2,500, is like for how long? Because is it from now till end of September, or is it just one and done?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he's gonna do one video, then there are like what, 5 to 10 Instagram stories or whatever. So that's, I mean, when he says stops on the trip.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then she pointed out the deliverables.
Yeah, because that's one Instagram post, one video, and 5 to 10 stories showcasing the stops on the trip. I mean, we don't want him to stop at Casino Morongo and take a picture.
No, this is all 29 Palms and Joshua Tree National Park. And then also some local listings and some backlinks throughout the National Park Guide.
Okay.
And he spreads them out. He doesn't dump them on his feed all at once.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, definitely a good start. I would encourage you to reach out to, you know, and get a couple of options for us to evaluate. But it's a great start, in my opinion. And then it's well within the budget. Let's just see if there are any other options available for us.
Sure. I think there needs to be maybe more, just as a FYI, these are probably going to be trips that are planned out maybe this summer, maybe even the fall in some cases, just based on some of the availability I'm getting from people.
Yeah, I mean, Brianne, right now, since we just approved for the Project Phoenix celebration or Freedom Plaza celebration, I would say that we've got that going, and if those guys will do the video for it, you know, we do have quite a bit on our plate to begin with. And if you add on and bring this person on, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I think that we can evaluate a couple of options till about March or April and then make a decision. And then, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, we need these awareness to happen during summertime when, you know, our tourism is down.
Right, which means these guys coming in and spending time here with us before the summer season actually starts, right?
Yeah.
Right, and I love the angle that he has toddlers, you know, because a lot of people do come here with kids.
Well, and again, it's his first trip out here with them, so it's a sort of trip itinerary that you know, he himself is really excited about. So, you know, yeah. I mean, in some cases, you know, it's like you want to assign the itinerary and say, you know, you're going to go visit X, Y, and Z. In other cases, it's, you know, it's nice to have someone who is really keen on the trip themselves, and is confident it's going to resonate with their viewers and audience and stuff. So if we have a meeting next month, I can bring other proposals and we can keep this in consideration for now, especially if, say, we have a meeting next month. We might miss the opportunity with him being out the end of, well, right, we would miss then the opportunity of having him out the end of this month. So I'm not sure, you know, the options of him coming later in the spring, but can certainly ask.
Well, I would make a motion to go ahead and approve it.
You should ask for that because, I mean, you know, we've got a lot going on. We've got this, then we got the Coachella and Stagecoach. I mean, and we're also, so yeah, I mean, give them the shelf for about a couple of months, no problem.
Okay, so Patricia, you made a motion. We'll go through the vote that way. Everyone else can say wait. That's fine. But if we started a motion, we just gotta follow that through, I think.
Sorry, well, I didn't hear the motion. What was that?
I made a motion to go ahead and approve this.
Anybody want to second that?
If no second, it dies on the floor.
Yep.
Okay.
No problem. All right. Well, we will talk more about this next meeting. So let's move on then.
And you know, one of the things we have to do because of the rules with virtual meeting now, just make sure the public has an opportunity to speak. So I don't know if there's anybody wanted to comment on this.
Anyone from the public would like to comment, please raise your virtual hand and I'll unmute you.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, move on, Brian.
Okay, so sorry to wait there. Okay, so last and final discussion item, all centered around Project Phoenix and various options for us to consider in terms of display and branding and touch point possibilities. So I'm going to take you through a couple different ideas here for the purpose of conversation. Outdoor kiosks, mobile visitor center, Airstreams, Pods, various things. And hopefully, you know, we'll get some feedback and direction from you guys. Whether it gets sort of finalized in terms of a timeline now, if this visitor center is going to close, what does that timeline look like, and you know, where does staff go? So I'm just going to jump right in through it here. So again, we are looking at various options for what can we do in the outdoor space. You know, beyond a small QR code sort of sign in the visitor center, our opportunities will be outside. So I've put in a lot of time doing research for particularly outdoor kiosks to essentially be able to kind of better understand, you know, where is the software at these days, what are the capabilities of it, and to be able to give us a price range. So just to kind of touch on that quickly, between $30,000 to $40,000 is where I'm at right now in terms of pricing. That would be for one single kiosk unit, double-sided, with the ability to kind of withstand the high temperatures in the summer, cool temperatures at night, not to worry about the rainfall we get. In terms of the software, it varies a little bit depending on what company you work with. But in terms of today's capabilities, we can have 3D wayfinding, which would be great, QR code and or SMS interaction. I haven't found anybody yet where, you know, you're going to put in an email address and receive the content that way. It seems to all be driven by QR codes or SMS. So we're looking at a one-time purchase of the actual kiosk unit, and then would be looking at annual software and support subscriptions. That budget range, that's sort of the starting price point there, say $40,000, would cover that first year of software and support. So I've gotten a couple different quotes now. I can send out the PDF documents, are pretty detailed to go through. In chatting,
So if I may, and I sorry to interrupt, I guess just to frame this discussion before we go into detail here real quick, what Brianne and I heard last meeting, and even a subsequent subcommittee meeting with Rakesh and with Ash, was the TBID felt strongly about having a presence in Project Phoenix in the National Park Visitor Center. The National Park Visitor Center will be a catalyst for bringing people into our downtown, without a doubt. They will be the vehicle that brings people. But how do we interact? And so we had a meeting with them, and we did hit a wall, if you will, with the national park and their federal rules of what they can do inside the facility. So Brianne is being proactive with this to accomplish the goals of the TBID, to have a presence in Project Phoenix, and maybe not inside the doors, but outside the doors. People will still be crossing our face, but how do we interact with them? And so Brianne has done this interaction, or done this research on some options to have this interaction. So anyway, Brianne, I just wanted to frame that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go through maybe all the different, ideas here, and then you guys jump in if you have any questions, if you want to come back to any one of these, and really following, some of the ideas that were put forward by the board in the past. I know a shipping container was one idea, and interesting in making phone calls and chatting with other tourism organizations. This owl pod came up in conversation. The kind of closest to us example was actually during Modernism Week down in Palm Springs. So there is a local Palm Desert based company that helped to get that in place. There's one to be found down on El Paseo. That's in an outdoor sculpture garden with one of the high-end art galleries down there. So this is really a kind of modern twist on like the factory built home. It's all pre-assembled. It gets designed and furnished and set up and everything, and essentially gets just sort of delivered and dropped into place, ready to go. Based on the conversations and information I've gotten from this particular company down in Palm Desert, no way this would be available until 2023. And I think really upwards of the $100,000 price point there. But just wanted to share a couple different sort of images to give you a sense of what those look like inside and out, what they look like in an outdoor space with a big outdoor kind of canopy above it. And so let's see, what else have we got here? I know we talked about
Brianne, hold on. So Frank, if I understand this clearly, so because it's a national park, nobody else can be inside of the building, is that what it is?
Yeah, so their federal rules limit, there is an allowance to be in there, but nothing to the effect that the national or the TBID wants. We could have some Brian kind of helped me with what the national park said, but some flyers, some kind of old school display stands that were in there where people can have.
I just to say no display stands. I think there can be a QR code available. Like, so when you think about when we used to always print that visitor map, they would stock it and hand it out because that listed everybody on it. But no, just to clarify, so everyone's clear, we won't have any display space there. There's no rack card display. It's spinning thing. It would be a QR code on a small sheet.
Yeah, I wish we would have known this earlier. All right, okay, move along.
So, right, so that's one concept, something like an Alpod. I'm probably a little low on the pricing here when we consider a van, because I think depending on how we would want to use the inside of it would really drive that price up. But just again, sort of starting price points here, that could be a vehicle that's wrapped and branded, you know, in addition to being at the Project Phoenix site, could move around, could come to those sponsored events. Things like that. And then I know an Airstream, you know, was something else that had been asked about. So again, fluctuate in price depending on what you want to do with it. You know, and probably better not to buy something new that's empty, maybe something vintage, and try to rework the inside. That is not really going to be mobile. Of course, that's going to require something to tow it should we want to use it at some of the regional events that we sponsor. So really, those are the couple different ideas that we had talked about to give everyone a sense of pricing there. So just coming back to this outdoor kiosk, I think my recommendation would be that we definitely invest in one of these. That may not be the end all thing that we try to do down at that site. So one of the companies that I think offers the best software option that I found so far is based in North Carolina. They do think they can pull off a 10 to 12 week delivery, and that would be the unit arriving fully customized and set up, ready to go. In a chat Frank and I had about kiosks, this would still need to go, and correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, through the planning department or presented to the planning commission just to make sure it's approved and is.
Yeah, it just got, yeah, anything has to just go through planning, so yes.
Mm-hmm.
Where would this be placed? Just in the plaza somewhere out there?
Well, right by the entrance. So that's somewhere right by the entrance, so you could capture the people as they enter.
But that's, and it's going to be an exterior, so it's going to be outside.
Correct.
Yeah, that, I don't have a good experience with that.
Do we know how much maintenance would cost, you know, to maintain a machine like this? Maria?
I don't have the PDF open in front of me. So if we went that high end 40,000 and that Meridian company, it's probably 2,000 a year, I think, for the software. And support comes complimentary for the first year. So yeah, I mean, it's more the energy to get that almost like app program set up and configured and loaded with everything. And then in terms of adding business listings or upcoming events or things like that, it's pretty straightforward to handle the content management system that they use.
Yeah, my opinion is that, you know, with the extreme weather we have, I doubt this, because we did this in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm telling you, the first year was fantastic. And physically, I'm talking about the hardware piece of it, was a nightmare after the first year. Okay. So I'm not a big fan of this. They don't take warranty of the screens. If the sun hits in a certain angle, you're not going to be able to see certain things. I've dealt with the nightmare with this one. So my personal opinion.
I like the Airstream idea. I like the Airstream idea if we can get a good secondhand one.
Yeah, but then you have to worry about towing it. The problem with the Airstream is that then we'll have to invest in a truck.
Well, can't we have a spot there that just keep it?
Anybody else have a comment there?
I think we got cut off there.
Yeah, the city can move it around if that's, you know, obviously a deterrent there. You know, I mean, I don't suspect it's going to be towed around every day. So, you know, various times, you know, probably most of the time it'll be stagnant in the downtown area, but the city has trucks that could tow it.
But then we'd have storage, maintenance, and security.
Exactly.
Because those are highly sought out trailers and they get stolen all the time.
But that would be with anything else. Even if you get the van, that's the same thing. You're going to have security. You're going to have to.
Well, the van,
You know.
Ash, for example, like you could park it. I'm just going to assume it's fine with the city. You know, park it at City Hall, and you know, it just you hop in and you move it down to the site during the day.
Yeah, but
Why
that
can't we
would
do the?
require that the TBID get insurance for drivers and
Yes,
Right.
so,
it's going to be
so
the
that
same
would
thing
be
for any
an
of them,
additional cost.
unless we get the city staff to drive it.
Oh, so as I mentioned the brand, so you know, this would be purchased. You know, TBID isn't an entity. It's the city of 29 Palms is the entity. It'll be your funding source, yeah, but we're the entity. So we have blanket coverage. So it will be covered under our blanket policy, along with the employees, which are drivers. So Brianne would be under our policy. Now that the board wouldn't be, so you know the board couldn't drive it, but any city employee would be under our insurance.
So then the van seems like a more logical option then because it's mobile too. We can move it around according to our convenience.
By city staff.
No, Brienne, because she's on the blanket. So Brienne can drive it around. Unless she's not comfortable driving it.
No, all good. Promise,
Good.
haven't got a speeding ticket in years.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm good with that or the Airstream. I don't like the kiosks idea either. But the cost of it, I mean, do we have the budget for it? That's the question.
Well, we don't have enough in the special project.
But then we'll have to tap into the
It would have to be pulled from the reserves, Ash.
Yeah.
How much do we have in the reserve?
Probably 90,000.
A total?
Not more. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Thought we had about almost 200.
Oh.
Let me check my file. But I think, you know, the purpose for today is to at least, because again, all of this is coming, it's right around the corner, see if we can, if we do have, you know, consensus, move one way or the other.
What other options do we have? I mean, besides the community center that Frank said, can we be in the existing building?
You could be in the existing building. I mean, that's all the people will be driven downtown, and you'll probably have, you know, very little traffic, less traffic than you have today at the existing building.
We never did have traffic there. I mean, that was always an issue, but we thought with Project Phoenix and having a presence there is when we will get traffic.
Yeah, they're you know, the national park is going to drive traffic. So it was part of the
Exactly.
Alternative, you know, obviously these are physical things that we talked about to attract people, but also there could be, you know, and they'll maybe in concert, quite frankly, but manpower too. You currently within your budget have Deanne, I always mess up her name and I apologize.
Yeah.
You know, as a greeter, if you will, down there, because that's the interaction that you wanted to have interior, right? It would just be exterior as a greeter, you know, finding out where people are coming from and having, you know, if they have any questions or, you know, and what have you. The physical part of it is the branding side of it, you know, the videos, if you will, the logo and any other, you know, collateral.
We don't have that now, Frank, with your community center. Where you put us in the community center, we won't be able to do that.
The community center was only where Brianne was going to be officed. So, you know, that's where she's going to be doing her work, but which is right next to the visitor center. So when she wants to interact with people, you know, that would be outside in front of the visitor center. So the community center is only an office.
I would be in favor of the van because we could park it outside and potential people would
Yes,
see it
that's what.
before even walking into the visitor center.
I'm in favor of the van or the Airstream. If we get a nice Airstream, that's at a good price, either one of them. Because it will still mean you can take the Airstream to the city parking lot or wherever the city has its security and park it there. If you have to move it.
And just
You know.
I mean, you're not going to be driving this to a lot of places probably, right? So you want something funky, at least from my perspective, something funky and cool where people, some of the things that Brianna got presented there, right? To draw people over. So the quality of the vehicle is probably less important versus the uniqueness of the vehicle.
Exactly. That's how I see it as well.
Well, then I think I guess it's a question to all of you guys then if that's something you definitely want to invest in and at least continue the research on, look for other examples, get a better sense of what we're looking at in terms of customizing interiors, things like that.
And while you're
can
thinking,
I make a proposal? Can I make a proposal for the immediate future when the visitor center and Project Phoenix open? We could use Frank's suggestion of having a greeter there, for the immediate future. But in terms of where we want to go with this long term, we can start researching the different vehicles that we've seen and come to a decision when we get the right price with the right things that we're seeing in it.
And while you're thinking of that, I just want to kind of update on timing, a couple of things. So the visitor center will be opening in May this year. So they will have, the visitor center, the gift shop, and a low-tech version of the museum part of it. I know last meeting we had, I think it was Joanna who came to the TBID meeting and threw a wet blanket on this topic and said 5 years, I think she said 2027 or some long term. What she meant by that, and I talked to David Smith on that, is the collaboration with the tribes is going to be an ongoing thing. David believes that they will have the Campbell collection open or the Campbell collection inserted in there by 2023. So it's going to be, a multitude of years because it's a $3 million investment from the national park through their fee dollars. So it's going to take an incremental approach, maybe adding displays annually, getting more things in there because every display has got to have the Native Americans have to interpret. They got to collaborate together of how they interpret the artifacts. So they got to get the resources. They got to design it. So it's going to be an ongoing process over the next several years, but 2023, it will be open with the Campbell collection in there and continuing to expand and grow through the next several years thereafter. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that.
Yeah, I would say let's just wait till it opens up to make a decision about it because I'm conceptually not able to understand. Because if nothing's allowed there, then let's just go see how it looks like, and then maybe the board can do a walkthrough once it's open.
Good point.
I'm sorry?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So, continue exploring this, Brianne, but not giving too much credence to it until we actually see the building open.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, then we will carry on. Any board member comments, additional city manager comments, kind of wrap things here.
I have none.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Ash, Patricia, any other comments?
No, thank you.
None on my side, none.
Okay, any,
I missed the last part, I'm sorry.
no, just asking Ash if the board members have any other comments.
Nope.
Okay, I'm good. So any future board member initiated items?
I think the thing about the vehicles, I mean, are we going to look into that?
Yeah, we talked about it, that we'll keep exploring it, and we will wait till the building opens to see exactly by walking the building and see what makes the best sense out of it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and scheduling of our next meeting?
Next meeting, are we meeting in February or not?
We certainly can, may not be in person. We may have to do this virtually again. So that's if you guys are available. If we looked at third Thursdays, that'd be the 17th of February or the 24th of February.
Yeah, 17th is tough for me, 24th is possible.
Okay.
Yeah, so February will be back in person. So this surge is suspected to subside by the middle of February. So we'll be back to in person, probably by the next meeting.
Okay. Is there consensus from the board? We can put that date down, Thursday, February 24th at 3:30 p.m.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I think we should meet because of that big investment we just made to find out where things are there before the opening of the Project Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just to let you know, I'm going to give them a call probably right after this and let them know, just to kind of put the seed in their head. If they feel at all rushed for this March date, I'm going to tell them, don't rush into this, because if you flop, chances are the TBID is not going to give you any money to do another event. So they got to be really.
Can I just say something? Yeah. Can I say something there, Frank? I'd rather start with the beer festival, the second event, than the first, because I feel it's too rushed, too quick, and there's too much money investing there. I hope they are going to be a success. I really do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna plant that with them just to make sure that they, again, I want them to be successful. I really do. I think it's so tied to, our tourism, our community, our downtown, and they're eager, they're energized, and I just don't want them to rush into it too quickly. So anyway, I'll plan. They may have done more planning than we all know that they have, but I just at least want to plant that.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if like I said, that if they feel they're rushed and they're not prepared for it, don't make commitments and spend the money just because it's other people's money.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, technically, it's a tourist money, not any hotelier's money here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I really do hope it will be a success, but I think, Frank, if you can guide them and lead them and give them some direction, probably they'll listen,
Yep, we'll do.
All right.
Okay. Meeting adjourned?
Yep.
We're all set.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for hanging in there. Long meeting. Talk to you soon.
Bye.